If I could ask everybody to please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chris Buckman.
Here.
Brandon Earl.
Here.
Andrea Kreifels.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Deanna Garver.
Here.
Tom Henning.
Here.
Pat Zika.
Next thing is the adoption of the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay. Recognition of patrons and staff. I don't have anybody sign up to talk. All right, moving on then. First discussion item. Athletic facilities survey.
Yes, we have the results of putting out the athletics facility survey, and Shelley is joining us by Google Meet. So we're going to get her on to talk to you about the results we have at this point in the game.
Was this report given out to the public?
It
Was it
not.
shared?
It was not. No, we wanted to get it to the board and then have you guys have a chance to see it, and then we will release it tonight once it becomes a live
So we're gonna
document.
release it though?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have a question too, just
Yep.
clerical sake or whatever. The night that I was talking about, you know, the locker room and it had the poster and all that.
Right, are you ready for me?
Wait 1 second, and I had some handouts, those folders. And I think Jason, you said at first you said I couldn't hand them out because the audience hadn't seen them. Remember that?
They just have to be made available to the audience.
So this is available to the audience right now.
Once it gets entered to a board meeting, it becomes a live document. And
But that night you guys said I couldn't pass that out, so I had to pass some out to the audience. You guys remember that? The blue folders?
Yeah, you have to make it available. Like, we can't be the only ones that see it.
I know, that's what I'm saying, right now we are the only ones.
Okay, but after the meeting, this will be made
It's gonna
public.
be discussed publicly.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I'm just saying, the night that I had to give it before I presented. I just wanna make us all clear which, am I making sense?
Yes, you're making sense.
So, I don't know if there's a misunderstanding or not, but
So that
whatever's
night I
presented to the
didn't-
board has to be available to the
Yeah, but I
public.
didn't
It's
have
in an open meeting.
Pass it out.
You had to make it public. Like, how are you gonna get that to the public? Like, the school has a way to funnel this to the public, so how would you personally
I
get
think
that
it was just a
information?
misunderstanding.
I think it was too, cause that night, it was like I had to give them a copy, which I did, cause I had extra.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's just
it's just a
transparency, is all it is.
misunderstanding between the two things. I just want to
Yeah,
make sure I understood.
we have been trying to put documents ahead of time on the website if we feel like it's something that, we need to get out there prior to the board. If it's something the board hasn't seen yet, and so we will try to get it to you for the weekend first, then it becomes a live document in a meeting and put it out there for the public. But we can do that any way you want, just don't want you being hit up about things you don't know about when you guys have a chance to. I mean, you guys are here to represent the public, and so you guys should have first shot at looking at things as far as we're concerned, so.
I was just confused about, not confused.
Sure.
That night, I had to pass mine out.
You ready?
Yes, sorry.
You there still, Shelley?
I am.
All right. It's your turn.
Ready?
Yep, go.
All right. I know you already know me, but I'm Shelley Kiblinger, working with DCS Services, and so I have the results of your survey that we've been working on. And I'm going to attempt to share my screen here so that you can see the presentation, and if not, then I think Adam has it on his end and he can share it. Always fun when I try to do this to pick whether I want tabs or windows. There we go, I want a tab, there we go, share. All right, are you seeing that?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. Look at this in slideshow mode, and we'll be off. So your survey was of course an online survey. We didn't mail it out to anyone. The survey window was open from February the 10th through the 24th of this year. And you have the full report in front of you in paper copy, I believe, that breaks those responses down by age. And also it gives you an analysis of how the percentage of those response choices varied by age groupings. I have also sent a PDF version of this survey to Adam, and so you can of course distribute that in any way that you like. Looking at the age of respondents, that was really the one demographic question that you wanted to ask. So based upon that, I first want to say that you had 725 responses to the survey, most of those being age 20 and older. Looking at the overall population of Wellington, that number represents about 10% of Wellington's total population. So I do want to compliment the district on getting the word out to people about the survey, because I think that's a really good response rate, just compared to what your overall population is. And while you didn't ask a question on the survey about whether people were registered to vote or not, I would say that the percentage of registered voters that took the survey is probably quite a bit more than 10%, because obviously if you have around 7,500 residents in Wellington, some of those are not of voting age. And also in past surveys that I've given, typically a very, very high percentage of people who do respond to this type of survey are registered voters. So I think it is, my hypothesis would be that you would have quite a few of these folks taking a survey that would represent your voting demographics as well. Page 7 breaks down how these age groupings compare to Wellington's overall population. You do overrepresent people in the age group between 30 to 49 years of age, which are your parents. And so the way that you gave this survey, it's, of course, to be expected that you would have a lot of parents that would have responded, and perhaps not as many in some of the older age demographics. I did take a look at how people in the different age groupings, by percentage of their responses, were answering the questions. And for the most part, there really wasn't much variance among the different age groups on how they perceived the different questions. There is one exception, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So moving on into the survey highlights. The majority of the respondents believe that some improvements were needed on the track. The most popular response here was that some maintenance or upgrades were needed. 45.1% of respondents selected that answer. 29.9% of respondents feel that substantial maintenance or upgrades are needed of the track facilities. You only have 2.2% that believe no maintenance or upgrades are needed. You did have the highest percentage of respondents who said they didn't feel they had sufficient knowledge to answer the question. Those were your respondents that were in the age 80 and above group. So just so you know, that was the group that really stood out, that they said they just didn't feel they had enough information to answer the question. But the percentage of responses did show, other than that, the opinions tracked pretty closely across most of the age group. The most pronounced differences were between the 60 to 69 and then the over 80 age group. And as I already mentioned, over 80, you had a lot of responses saying they didn't feel like they had sufficient knowledge of the condition of the facilities to answer. Then looking at the next question, which dealt with whether or not improvements were needed at the football field and stadium. Oops. On that one, also very similar. You had quite a few folks feeling like there are repairs, maintenance needed. The most popular response was that some maintenance or upgrades were needed, with 45.7% of respondents picking that answer. You had 24.1% believing substantial maintenance or upgrades are needed. And a few more on this question, 4.4% of respondents believing no maintenance or upgrades were needed at the football field and stadium. And again, you had the age group 80 and above with the highest percentage of respondents they gave a little bit different answer. They were the group that said substantial maintenance or upgrades were needed at the highest percentage. Now, you had a small number of people, but percentage-wise, you had more of them than anyone else feeling that substantial maintenance or upgrades were needed at the football field and stadium. So I thought that was interesting. So there's some variance of answers according to the age group that people fall in regarding the degree of maintenance or upgrades that are needed, but there does seem to be general agreement that there are maintenance needs at the football field and stadium facilities. So then looking at your next question, we ask about option one, renovations of the current facilities. And so we ask people to rate their level of support for two options for making improvements to your athletic facilities. Option one was to create a new football field, track, and stadium located at Wellington High School and to make improvements at the current track. Option two here was to concentrate improvements on the current football field and track facilities. And you can see from this graph, you basically get kind of a mirror image of people supporting option one versus option two. So really high support, which is the blue bar, and also the red, which is somewhat supporting. So lots of support for option two, which would be concentrating the improvements at your current facilities. Not as much support, much more opposition, which is the green bar, for option one, which would be creating something new. Then I looked at this a different way because I thought it was important to see just exactly how these the levels of support shook out. So I divided this into kind of 4 different quadrants, with that upper left quadrant being people who strongly support or support either option. So these are your people that they just believe something needs to be done. They would be supportive whichever you did. Then you have the lower right-hand quadrant. These folks aren't going to be supportive of either option, so they don't feel like any repairs need to be made or they don't want to see repairs made in either way. So no matter what you do, they are opposed to it. Then you have these other 2 quadrants, which they support one and they are opposed to the other option. So I thought that was important to look at. So the upper right-hand quadrant, those are your folks that are supportive of option 1, which is our new facilities, and opposed to option 2, which is renovating what you have. Now that represents 14.6% of the survey respondents. And then if you look at the lower left quadrant, these people are supportive of option 2, which is renovating what you have, and opposed to building something new. And that's 64.3% of the respondents. So there's a pretty clear division how people are leaning. And so I also thought about that in terms of, well, what if you look at that 16.1% that say they'll support anything, if you add them then to either option that you might pursue, how does the math work out on that? So if those folks would also support the option for building new, that would come in at just under 31% of people that could support that. If you were to renovate what you currently have and you add those people who support either option, that would give you support that's actually at about 80%. So again, really different the way you slice and dice that up. So I think you do have some clear direction as to what people are thinking. So then moving on, we begin to ask some questions about what sort of field people might like to play on. What do you think the football field should be? Should it be grass? Should it be artificial turf? Do you not have a preference? The majority supports a grass field. So 52.4% believe that the football field should be grass, compared to only 19.4% who think it should be artificial turf. And then you have 28.1% who do not have a preference. It was interesting here, this was one of the questions where there was some real difference of opinion on one of the age groups. And so your older patrons had a much different opinion. They had a very high percentage of people over 80 that thought the playing surface should be artificial turf. So that's just something that stood out where there was a difference in opinions among the age groups and how they answered the questions. So then if you take a look at the question where we looked at 5 different types of renovations, which really kind of gets at option 1 and option 2. Again, it just asked it a little bit differently to make sure people were understanding or if they had any difference of opinion there. When it was asked differently, didn't see any variance. They really seemed to answer those questions the same. But the most popular option, providing locker rooms at or closer to the football stadium, had the largest number of respondents expressing strong support. So 67.3% expressing strong support for that idea, and 89.4% being supportive at some level. So that would be either strongly supportive or somewhat supportive, adding those two answer choices together. Improving bleachers, press box, restrooms, entrance, and concessions at the current track showed strong support from 52.6% of the respondents, so over half strong supporters. And 84.3% of respondents were supportive at some level, so either strongly supportive or somewhat supportive of this project. Then renovating the existing football field and stadium showed strong support from 52.4% of respondents, and 75.7% were supportive, either strongly or somewhat supportive when you added that together. Taking a look at the question of expanding the seating capacity for varsity football games, that showed strong support from 18.9% of your respondents, and 53.1% of respondents were supportive at some level, so either strongly supportive or somewhat supportive. So at 53.1%, there is a narrow margin of support for the idea of adding seating capacity for varsity football games among these respondents. And then lastly, building a new football field, track, or stadium located at the high school. That was the project with the highest percentage of respondents who were strongly opposed, with 57.4% being strongly opposed and 71.7% being either strongly opposed or somewhat opposed to that concept. And so that is the way those answer choices put out. So then for additional analysis and follow-up, you do have the full 48-page written report. It has results for each survey question. It has the analysis of questions by age and charts for you, so you can see the percentage of respondents choosing the different answer choices by age group. So you can get a feel for if there's any variance in the way the different age groups perceive the needs that you have. And as I said, for the most part, it did track pretty closely. Now then you have the themes that are expressed in the open-ended responses. So if you wanted to take a look at those, there's a table on page 25. It was just a little too large to put in this PowerPoint presentation. Lots of people expressing ideas on things that really were already asked about in the survey. Football, locker rooms, restroom, concession stand was mentioned 52 times. Tennis, restrooms, locker rooms mentioned 20 times. just improving overall tennis facilities, restrooms, bleachers, concessions, shade, things of that nature. About 18, 15 people that wanted, just expressed we need multi-use sport locker rooms, 15 people who wanted a natatorium. So you'll see all of those different things, that are mentioned in there. And so it's just a tallying of how many times those particular concepts came up. And then you also have the full text of all the open-ended questions exactly as they were entered in the survey, so you can read through all of those as well. And of course, I would be happy to answer any other questions that you have now, but also if you have other questions that come up, you can direct those to Adam and he can get those to me. If you have, any sort of public meetings that it would be helpful to come back and share this information again with your patrons, I'm of course happy to do that. So at this point, I will bring a close to what I wanted to share with you and answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Shelley? All right. Hearing none. Good job, I guess. If you got no questions.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to present remotely, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your meeting.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley.
Any other thoughts on that? It's just a first gathering of information, kind of give us a little bit of direction. I mean, that was kind of the idea. So,
I think it's crystal clear what we have to do.
moving on then. Second item on the agenda for discussion is the WHS land lease. Sorry.
Yes,
Kathy's
Kathy
here.
is here tonight, and I've sent you the information she sent me this month. And so here to discuss that with the board. I know this is initial. This would only be if, there's other things with KDOT and other things involved, but at least this piece would be done if the board is interested in discussing that.
I think you got my suggestions. This is just a current traffic count, and I did bring enough this time. I don't know if you've seen it lately. It's about 6,000, 5940, right in front of the school, or at Casey's. I did get some additional information from some of our commercial agents that Casey's had denied before to share an entrance with the scooters, which isn't surprising,
With scooters
particularly scooters. So, given that, so what we have so far, may not matter. KDOT is very stingy, and for safety reasons, of course, and you're looking out for the safety. It's why you aren't wanting to share that entrance, which wouldn't be appropriate, but I don't know. The only thing I thought of is maybe they would allow to double that entrance. But would that then cause you to have to give them access to more? So, you saw that my suggestion was kind of to negotiate with them a little bit. My findings were there were some also leased land that were pretty much in line with what our counteroffer or my counteroffer suggestion would be. So I guess I bring that. Do you want me to present all this verbally?
It's
Just
up to the
your
board on how much,
questions. Yeah. Based on, I was trying to figure out a way
yes.
to reduce commission and to find a way to pay for it without being out of pocket as a district, and put the utilities is huge. What's going to happen to the building following? So I think you have no choice really but to ask for that to remain, should they not, or remain or remove. And that would be in the full lease, but at the same time, that's something that's a pretty big issue. So
Is that something we'd go to that later after we know we're going to?
Yeah, it would be subject to, I mean, you wanna be as cooperative, you wanna leave the door open, and then at any point that you have to shut it, you shut it. But, it's, a pretty, neat industry to be close to the school setting. So you saw my suggestion that, that you only participate in half of the commission, you would be half of the transaction, not 100% of the transaction. Or you can raise the price and work it all in. A lease gives a tenant a little more leverage in that they don't have to buy the land. They pay for it gradually. Well, they, in this case, would never pay for it, they simply lease it. So the one in Winfield's been open since, since Halloween, so basically November 1st. And they're really enjoying it over there, good reports and all. Any questions from me? Did you kind of like some of the ideas of how to make it work? Basically, you would give them back the first almost 4 months of lease income in lieu of commission. And that way those agents get paid within that time frame.
I think we need to know, just for the public's interest, that you aren't gonna charge anything for your commission.
No, I didn't, I never did
No.
want to,
No.
but I
I
couldn't
think
work
we need to-
against someone else that is charging money without working for you.
I just wanna state that so that,
Thank
you
you.
know, we know that
Yeah,
you're doing that
I
just
mean,
because.
as you all know, most of the time there's not enough to pay, you know, you don't get paid. And so there's not enough money when you do that too. I just didn't feel right about it. Some of you may have seen media. My niece is just took a job, Mallory Bartleson Bolton, that it works in Omaha. It's a home base, and Omaha's their home base. And she just they came after her. She didn't seek this out. They sought her out. She was with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they wanted her to be president, which she didn't want that pressure. She's still raising a 12-year-old by herself now. So her husband passed of cancer. And so it was a real opportunity. It's a great, their business philosophy, it's just very positive. And, you know, I wouldn't even know that, you know, if I hadn't researched it a little bit. But I think it would be, you know, a good thing, if any, but, you know, you have to decide if it would cause you any future harm with them there. So anyway, so no, I don't intend to charge anything. I'm just here to help Wellington, to keep the possibility open of any growth that we get the opportunity of, anything to help our students in our town. So I did talk to Tim Kerr with Reese Nichols shortly after our last meeting, and he did say that they were working with KDOT, but they were really wanting a response from you. And, you know, there's only so much time they'll dedicate to it if there's not a possibility. But this is the place he indicated that they wanted to be. So, you know, and I suggested that, you know, all the civil planning and utilities that need to be brought would be at their expense also. Tried to tighten up any unknowns. Not that you can really do that. There's always things that come up. So, and put the taxes back on them too. So you have a clear picture of what you might get. So
what are they wanting an answer to?
they want you to respond to this, and I gave you a sample of what I think you should respond to. The only thing that you might add is if you expect that the building that they build, which will be about $1 million facility, they're little, but they cost a lot. And if you want that to remain or be removed, that would be something you could decide now and either get this on or off the plate, because that's a biggie. And the 3 commercial guys that I talked to that had done these before indicated that was big, just to make sure of the future. No other questions?
And they understand that it all is contingent on KDOT saying.
Correct. You gotta have an entrance. Now, there are a couple of places, there's some competition.
Yeah.
Over by, is it Dollar Tree? Did I say that right? Okay, Dollar Tree. But I think they'd have to go behind Dollar Tree to get into that. That lot is $175,000, but I think he would give them access back there because he owns that behind. And then the property right across from Walmart just went down to $350,000 for 4 acres. And it
So
has
you mean
that
Dollar
housing.
General and across from Walmart?
Dollar Tree.
But Dollar Tree, is there two different options?
That across from Walmart, not across from McDonald's, okay, across from Walmart is the one that's been on the market for years.
So they're both
And-
right there in that general.
But it's 4 acres for $350, but it's zoned residential, so they'd have to go through rezoning. So to have the school on their team is a bonus. So they would like a response from you, us. I mean, I can type that in red. And once you guys decide for sure if you're agreeable with my suggestions.
I tell you, like, where I think we're most, myself, I think most of us would agree that if we knew KDOT would say we have an entrance, I think we'd be all over this. But it's hard to commit. I guess, can we commit to this
So-
contingent on KDOT?
Right, the entrance is on them. So,
Cause I don't know, when you get into expanding entrances, that's just as ugly as just
Just as
creating
ugly.
a new one.
and since they've said no before, they may say no again and it may be dead. And, so, you know, they agreed that was on them. So, to get that entrance. The execution of the contract will be contingent upon the ability to gain access from either Casey's gas station or KDOT on this, or the school board and approval. And you've already said no, right, to the school giving access. Other than, I mean, if you agree to KDOT, it's still on your land, so. So, it's all up to them anyway. None of the other things really matter as much as that one. And that's why Chris was saying, you know, they need to do theirs to see if they can even get it. So many times they can't get it until they have this piece. Because if they know they have your cooperation and your support, then they'll, you know, listen to them, so. Anything else?
So what do we need to do to move forward then with your suggestions? Do you need us to make a motion and
You
then-
guys, I mean, I can type it, you can type it, you know, Martin can type it on there once you give us direction on what. So basically, if you like the suggestions, we could go back with them.
So what she's looking for is approval of the red, the changes that she's made there,
Right.
and then
Basically,
If we-
we're talking about the tenants bring the utility to the site, adding that. The tenant shall pay the property taxes, because even though the school doesn't pay, they would pay because they would own the personal property building and the real estate, but not the land. The tenant to disclose what will happen to the building. If you have a firm idea that you want it to stay or be gone, we could say that. Or we could just leave that open to see what they offer, if you don't want that to be a point of contention right now. And then the reduction in commission for the tenant to pay, the buyer to pay one side and the seller to pay one side.
So can you type all that up and then bring it back to us so we can actually see what we're gonna be voting on?
I mean, I will
Just
type
leave that,
exactly that
And that way,
and send
at
it to
least
you
I have
guys.
it in
Yeah,
front of me so I
Well,
can
Chris, if
look at
you,
it.
did you look,
It
if you
is.
click on the link, it takes you to the actual thing that she's suggesting.
Because
Yeah, I know,
It's in your
I didn't
but-
see it till just a little bit ago either.
I'm just talking about one document where I can just look at it and I know
right.
exactly what
It'll be
it
2
all is
pages, just what they
without
sent
being in
us.
red.
And I could type that in
It'll be
red
that
on there
exact
and get it
document,
back to
not
all
red.
of you
Right,
to approve of it. If you approve of it, and you would still have to see it. Do you each have to sign it or you? You
Just
tell
the
me.
board president, I mean, if it's a motion that passes
So if I have a motion to type this up, I can get it to each one.
So timeliness of this, I
Ah,
mean,
mhm.
is this something you need to get pretty quickly?
They do, they
Okay.
wanted it
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we don't move forward on something, we're just stalemate.
Right.
And then they start looking at other.
At this point, do we need to determine now whether we want the structure to stay or go?
No, she's.
No.
You don't have to, no.
Okay.
I
We
asked
could.
them to let us know
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But it's like, I don't care if it's a windmill or an oil well, whoever puts it up needs the money to take it down. And so the windmills, they have reserves. The oil and gas was a mess, because you can buy a piece of land, there's an old salt well, and no one cares, and no one removes it. So you don't want that kind of thing, so
I think if all you're gonna do is type.
I'm
What
just
you
gonna
have
type
here.
what's written on there. That's right. Just on the words, not my note at the top or anything like that. And you have it, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just,
No, I've
Yeah.
got it.
okay.
Right. My question
Yeah, I
is,
think we might.
why are we having to pay the commission to have? I don't understand.
Okay.
They came to us.
They did, and
So
they're,
why would I wanna pay?
because it benefits you also. It benefits the
I
tenant.
get it.
Yeah.
But it should all go on to scooters.
Well, without cooperation, they'll just move on. If you're in it with them or not, it's just the way, you as a seller would benefit and the tenant will benefit too. So it's a way of sharing cost. So, and that was, by raising the monthly. So you did type it on there already in red.
I didn't type it, no, I just sent exactly what you sent.
Okay, Sunny typed it, I didn't know it.
Yep.
You see, I don't type. So,
So
Sunny
would you-
typed it. So the document is ready to go.
What is this document called? Is this proposed lease?
This is a letter of intent, an
Okay.
LOI.
I will make a motion that we proceed with the letter of intent to Reese Nichols for the Scooters Coffee.
Okay.
Business.
So I just need.
Got a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, got a second, all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
all those opposed, same.
Nay.
Okay, if you'll sign it, I'll get it to him.
Yeah, get it. So,
Do you
somebody will.
wanna do a new copy for him to sign then?
Sure.
Redo a
Absolutely.
Just
copy,
get it to Adam.
a fresh
Let's
copy
get that
and
and he can
Yeah.
call me and I
And
can
get
come
Make
sign it.
sure.
Just print it in black and white.
Yep, there you go.
Yep.
Yep.
We can't afford coloring.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Not very good, Robert.
Okay, next item on the agenda is USA Communication presentation.
Yes, USA Communications is here this evening to visit with the board, and so I will hand it over to them. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. I'm Philip Brown, but Nathan Allen. I'm here with USA Communications. For those of you that don't know me, I worked here in Wellington with Sumner Cable TV back then from 1977, 78 through 2001. The Mitchell family hired me back then, and I worked for them for almost 24 years here before I moved on. In 2001, 2001, fiber optics was starting to come into existence in the cable industry. And before I departed here, we pioneered fiber optic cable in Wellington. We built a backbone for the hybrid fiber coax network that's in this town. At that same time, we built the fiber to all of the schools. The schools have been networked through what was Sumner Communications fiber optic cables for the last 20-some years. Of course, we use that also, the fiber network, to provide fiber services to not only our own facilities, but USD 353 and other entities in town and other businesses who required a fiber optic connection to the internet. In January of this past year, USA Communications purchased Sumner Communications. The two principal owners of USA, which are Bill Bauer and Chris Hilliard, two industry professionals that I have known for about 22 years or so. I've known in my career, I've met a lot of people across the country in the cable industry, and I can't think of two better people to have acquired this. They run their operations, they're local people, even though they're not living here, they run this as a local operation. And that's why we've become a part of the Chamber of Commerce. We're sponsoring the Wheat Festival this summer. We're doing lots of things to be involved in this community, like Sumner Communications always did, and like it was when I was here my first time. While these are longtime industry professionals, they're running this as a small business in this community, and intend to be very involved in it. And the owners have been here several times since the first of the year. We've done a lot of upgrading. We have made significant progress in upping speeds across the town to residents already. Most people are telling us they're already seeing the effects of that. We still have work to do, but we intend to have a first-class operation here, providing both cable TV, telephone, internet through cable modem and fiber as we continue to build out and upgrade this network. We value the fact that we've been your provider to network your schools for the past 22 years, I think it is. And we want to see that continue. We feel we have provided you with an excellent service during that time, and we want to continue that. We have completed all of the E-rate paperwork necessary to continue to do that. And we will be providing the school district in the near future as a part of that new E-rate filing with 5 gigabit service, which is about a 3 times increase in what you currently have. So we feel this will provide the school district with plenty of bandwidth for the foreseeable future. And as we grow our network, we will of course be able to expand that even more in the near future. So this is a way of introducing ourselves. We look forward to working with you in the future as we have for the last 20-some years. So with that, if there's any questions, we'll be glad to take them.
Anybody have any questions? No. All right. Okay. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next thing on the agenda, Business Professionals of America trip.
This is Case. This is Vaughn.
Okay, now I'm getting cold.
Good evening.
I wasn't.
We're here this evening, first of all, we need to request permission for our students, 6 of them, to travel to Anaheim, California to compete in nationals. It will be April 26th through the 30th. And remind me what all we're doing. It's broadcast news team. We have legal office procedures, law and ethics, and I'm missing one. Basic office systems. So we had 2 other team events that actually are considered alternates, which meant if the top 2 were to withdraw, they could have attended also, which is, it's always a blessing to have as many can go as you can, but then you're faced with, oh my gosh, that's just more money that you have to raise too, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. So we just need to request permission, first of all, for us to travel. And second, I would like to share with you just a short document that I came up with that lets you know kind of where we're at money-wise with that. So I'll give this to you. I think I've got enough, so everybody should be able to have a copy. And Mr. Farley, I'll probably look off my shoulder just because I didn't. No. Right here, you're fine. I'll just right beside you here. All right, so at the top of it, I've just put together how much the expenses are for and there'll be one advisor. I didn't mention that. There's one advisor. Mrs. Vaughn will be chaperoning the students this year as they travel to Anaheim. She's been a key force in the students that were eligible for the broadcast news team. That was a group that she spent the time with, and so we talked about it and feel like I truly believe that they will be more comfortable with her there because they know they've worked on the project together, they work well together. If they have questions, she'll be there to take care of them. And so I think she's the best fit for that particular endeavor, and she did say yes. I, didn't say you have to. She said, yeah, I can, so I appreciate that. So when you look at the expenses, you can see that we have a total there just a little over $12,000 for the 7 people to attend. And I wanted you to know where we were at money-wise as far as what we actually have committed to date. So we have about $9,300 of that raised, which leaves us with a balance of about $2,700 that we haven't raised yet. And I looked down through it and I specifically focused just on the advisor that is going to support the students. And you can see that the advisor cost is just slightly over $2,000. So while I'm here asking for permission to travel, I thought I might as well ask for any donation that the district might have to help us meet that difference. Now, with that being said, we still have the school store that we use as a big part of that to help raise that money. And, we still have about, a good month here to put that together. We've also worked concessions and we haven't received that money. We usually don't get that till after the end of the year, so that would be something we could use towards next year's budget as far as that goes too. And the students are doing sim enrolls this Saturday. We have a telethon that we were scheduling that like right before spring break, but then we had the opportunity to participate in some basketball, so we chose to do that, which was fun. So that's on our agenda this week as well. So the cinnamon rolls, the telethon, I feel like, oh yeah, and Big Cheese was big help. They gave us some cards to sell, so students have been selling that. We're meeting Wednesday morning to kind of get a feel for them to see where they're at with that. So we have some things out there. They're just not a definite, but we believe that it will meet the 2,000. But I get nervous when it gets this close, and I'm like, okay, we have bought tickets. We did buy tickets because I knew if we waited, it was just going to be even more. And they did go up from the time we checked about the middle of, it's like the 26th, 28th of February when we checked. And till right before spring break, they had gone up about $70 per ticket. So we went ahead and made sure that we had that taken care of. But then the hotel, you don't get a choice on where you stay. They tell you where you're going to stay because that's how they get the convention for us to have that there. So we don't have a choice in that. And students and teachers are not allowed to share rooms together. So that's why you have a little added expense then with the hotel as well too. So I don't know. So first of all, I guess I just need to know if you're willing to let us travel. So yay or nay or that. And if you have any additional funds that you feel like you could help support us, that would be appreciated as well.
So is the total amount that you're lacking is 2784? Or is it the 2784 plus the 2,000 for
It's the 2784.
Okay,
but
so the advisor's paying for their own?
No, I just wanted you to see how much it costs for one advisor to go.
Okay, I get you.
So if I could get the advisors covered, I know we could definitely get the other portion taken care of with absolutely no problem. I think we could do that. But yay or nay, either way, we're gonna go. We'll make it happen. but I am just I kind of worry. It's a big, when you think about it, every year this group has to raise anywhere from $6,000 up to, it's been as high as $15,000. I think when we went in 2014, we had to come up with $15,000 that year. And we were taking chances as we went. We were committing ourselves to expenses and we're like, yeah, we hope this is gonna happen. If not, we're gonna lose this. And, so it's kind of, it's just a lot. It's a lot to have to come up with. And I didn't put it on here. Well, yeah, I did. I guess I did didn't I do it on the revenue? The casino, it was Ms. Zika in the building. She said, you guys really need to contact the casino. They have money they haven't spent. I'm like, oh, okay. So we did, and I just totaled that up the other day, and on the request that we sent to them, all of them but one were approved, and it came to right at $15,000 that they have given just Wellington High School that I know of. There's probably more out there that I'm not aware of. So that was a big, big help, and I'm glad that she told us about that. And then the local businesses have been very generous to us also. You can see that on there as well. And like I said, the school store, we've been able to save at least 3,000 from there, and I'm sure we can cover the other 7 with that too, if we need to. But like I said, it's
Didn't we just give money for something? Somebody just went somewhere and we, baseball, we helped with that. So, FFA, somebody,
They just got the vehicles.
what did it, okay.
You just approved for them to go. They had the funds.
Yeah.
Baseball had
I thought we gave money for somebody, FFA maybe or somebody.
so that would cover transportation.
Yeah. Oh, she didn't go, so let's just use her money. We got Linda's money back, so.
It was only $495.
I'm just saying everyone
It's a drop.
so.
We're down to 2,200.
That's good for 2 people for the days that we need, so yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the travel, and to cover the advisor expenses, so you don't have to raise as much money to make this trip happen.
I'll second. I've been to that conference and it's amazing and worth it, so.
Thank you.
Second.
Well, thank you.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Well, thank you so
Have a
much.
good trip.
All right, we will. We'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Come back and let us know how
We
it goes.
will, we will.
I know. So we're making stuff on discussion items.
Okay, next item in discussion is secondary school plan.
Yes, Mr. Nance and Mr. Meyer, been hard at work this year and here to
Take your coat
share,
off.
make it serious.
You want your boxing gloves or what?
Share with you on some ideas that
If you had a
have.
button that says you're hot or cold, and like the majority hits the cold button, it ought to raise the thermostat up to the green.
So we have PowerPoint.
Are you shooting,
Uh,
I would like to. But at home, you
I know. No way.
turn around back.
On to the next item.
Can you tell a joke or something while we're waiting?
Go ahead.
How about KU, huh? I knew Bob would like that.
You guys get along.
Okay, no more jokes.
No.
Not after that.
Okay, so in our first year, we've really looked at how we align or what opportunities we have to align 6 through 12 education in the district. We've been through a lot of training with TASN, and looking at this, and Mr. Meyer and I working on it, we've looked at our district goals and then your strategic plan goals as well. And so our secondary education plan addresses the strategic plan goal of curriculum, instruction, and professional development. Your action purpose is obviously to ensure that the district is a viable, comprehensive curriculum. It's research-based and that we provide teachers with professional development. In our current format, we do a lot of professional development in the secondary on in-service days. And so in some of the trainings we've been through and looking at our goals, we've worked together to develop this plan to kind of ramp that up and address our instruction and some of the professional development that we do with our staff.
So the why, the purpose that we've kind of had these discussions and developed this plan. Developing a secondary education plan will provide students and teachers with a system that impacts their achievement, but improves the rigor in our classrooms, and also provides for individualized interventions. And as he mentioned before, we've had several discussions with TASN, And when we looked at the data at the beginning of the year, one of the things that data suggested, or TASN suggested, was that we need to improve our core classrooms. And just to talk a little bit about MTSS for a second, so ideally in the MTSS framework, 80% of our students should be at a tier 1 or on grade level, 15% should be at that tier 2, and then 5% at that tier 3. We're not there. And in order to get going in the right direction, that's why we have come up with the plan, and we need to make some changes. And so this plan helps to increase that rigor in all of our classes in these areas by focusing on professional development, our curriculum alignment, having professional learning communities, and then also collaborative intervention time, which I know right now at the middle school, we have that second plan period, which is our team plan, which is a great chance or opportunity for us to implement a lot of this in that team plan, to structure it that way, where teachers still have their personal plan time, but using that team plan in a more structured way will help us get there. So
This also addresses our district goals of implementing the IPS and the district goal of enrichment opportunities for all of our students. So the next thing we looked at is impact on learning. How are we going to move our test scores? How are we going to meet the students where they are? Moving to the structure of having that 6 through 12 plan, it gives us a purposeful planning time for standards-driven instruction. So if you know anything about standards, which I know a lot of you do, we have to make sure that we know the standards, that we're instructing them, and that we're really making sure our kids get there. That's what we're graded on in the state assessments, and that's what we look at with our FastBridge scores and things like that. It also places teachers on a team, so it would be a schedule change at our building. It helps build the collegiality of our teachers. It helps with student support. So each grade level at the middle school currently, these teachers meet and they talk on teams about the kids in the grade level. They talk about what they're seeing with them and how they're impacting them with that. It also impacts morale. When you put teachers on a different team, they get the chance to work together. It also gives us time for teachers and our student support staff to meet and work together, look at their individual plan of study, go from that being something that our teachers do separately from our counselors and social workers to something we do together. And then it also gives them time to impact the social emotional learning of our students. We also look at cross-curricular planning and tailoring the learning of students. So as a team, there's going to be core teachers on those teams, and they work together when addressing a new learning strategy or things like that, and they can cross-curricular plan. And then it helps us to be instructional leaders in our building. It helps us to also develop our teachers into some of those instructional leaders, so that's not just always us driving their learning, it's them with new ideas and taking chances with their learning to increase that with our students.
So a few areas of focus on professional development. Again, it gives that scheduled time. First of all, they can collaborate around student performance. So what we call GEI, it allows those teams, grade level teams, to get together and discuss students that might have a high need or have concerns. So gives them time to discuss those, and then we meet once a month with a specific GEI team, and then we have one representative come forward from each grade level and relay that information to us. Student data analysis. So I know TASN has talked about coming down and helping train the staff on doing what we call like data dives, digging into that student data to help drive that planning for the future. And then assessment prep strategies. Again, structuring that time gives the team the ability to collaborate more. Professional learning, so training in instructional strategies. I know one of the things that we do in our walkthroughs is we look for like visible learning and different instructional strategies that are being used. So we can take that time to help train staff in effective and research-proven strategies in the classroom. Training and using data, so again, taking that data that they used up here and teaching them how to drive their instruction with that data. And then professional development using restorative practices, and then visible learning strategies. If you're not familiar with visible learning, basically it's a compilation of a lot of research-based strategies and their effect size on learning. So what strategies have the biggest impact on student learning? And then lastly, implementation planning. So a lot of times we go to our in-service, we get our training, but then we get back and we're like, how are we gonna implement this? What does it look like in the classroom? So that collaboration can take place on how do we implement. Learning walks and peer coaching. One thing that we would like to implement is, and you'll see later in the proposed schedule, is getting maybe our 6th grade team, one day we go and we go into another classroom and we observe. What are they doing well? What are some things that we can improve upon? And then we come back and we talk about that and see how we can implement that in our own classrooms.
So in looking at shifting that to our weekly schedule, we look at how those learning communities are inside of our school and how they are maybe outside of our school. So currently we operate in 2 different buildings, obviously, and we want to align that together. So we would have weekly building-based collaboration that allows our teachers to work on the things and look at their data and work through those things. And then on district in-service days, instead of providing teachers yet another day full of here are new strategies, here are some things we're trying, we would give them time to meet in subject levels, and then they would meet as a English team, 6 through 12, a math team, 6 through 12, to help align that. Here are the strategies, here are the learning targets that we're getting to, and here is how we're closing those gaps. So it's not there's not things that are left out. So it's more of a cohesive look. It allots for the time to teachers to dive into student performance data. It allows them the time during their day to do that. You don't have to mess with a late start, early release. You're strategically planning that so that they have that time to close those educational gaps. And then a systematic change of standards-based education. We have all the new curriculum. Now, how that aligns with our standards, we need to really get into that. We need to be working with that and addressing those and hitting those standards 6 through 12. And then it does give the purposeful time for that specific teams to meet and develop that cohesive instruction model.
This was yours too.
Okay. So we also look at collaborative intervention and enrichment. That is one of the things that we need to focus on, definitely in the secondary level. How are we enriching these kids? How are we pushing them to be their best? It does, again, give that purposeful collaboration time. It puts teachers on teams, so when we're doing the intervention, because at the high school we don't have interventionists, we do that within our IXL programs and within our core. And so we look at how we are meeting those needs specifically. We look at that student data. We have the time to not just look at it ourselves, but to look at it with the team. It reduces that variance among classroom instruction because a lot of that you get teachers teaching in subject levels and they don't always teach exactly the same way. If you have 2 English classes in the 9th grade, they're not always taught the same way. This would help with that. And then the data in context to support those decisions. We aren't just going through and doing what we've done. We're looking at how the data says it impacts students, and then we're having time to reflect on, is this working in our building? Is this strategy of peer coaching, is that changing the instruction for my kids? Are my teachers growing, therefore my students growing in that as well? And then that develops that community of professionalism, which is a thing that is incredibly valuable to our teachers. Pushing each other, having them challenge each other to try harder. So look at new strategies and how I can do this differently instead of me being on my island and operating that way.
So on the structured team plan, again, probably easier at the middle school at this point in time because we already have that set in place. But we just, even yesterday, we sat and we talked about how would that look. So basically 3 days out of that week, we will start with the professional learning. So I alluded to it, peer observations. Maybe, I think there's 4 categories here. So in a month's time, maybe 1 day out of that first week, we take that team and we go on an observation or a learning walk, as we call it. Maybe in week 2, we specifically teach about visible learning strategies. I know, a few months back, during in-service in the morning, we even looked at one's called the jigsaw method. And we actually put the staff in the jigsaw method to go through that learning process, and then they took it back to their classrooms and used it. So again, we can dive in and teach them about different strategies. Maybe it's classroom management. Week 3, we talk about some effective classroom management tools, behavior intervention, things that they can use right in their classrooms. And then maybe it's social emotional learning. So we can break it out. That's your PLC or your professional learning communities. On the second day, we get into that data analysis. We do our data dive. So again, teaching them how to dive into the data, what they're looking for, how to find that information, and then any intervention data. Day 3 would look like this. It would be more strategy, planning, how to implement what you're learning. So in the first 2 days, you're learning that stuff, but how do we implement it? And like you were talking about, John, cross-curricular planning, again, getting that collaboration time so they understand how to put that all together. And then for 2 days a week, maybe that's a Monday and a Friday, they're meeting on their own. They're team planning. They're getting that GEI time, or they're doing assessment prep, student collaboration, whether it's grade level business, intervention, alignment, they're meeting on their own at that time. So the combination, again, professional learning, teaching them how to do this, giving them new strategies, but then also giving them the time to work as a team and plan accordingly. So.
And I think that's the biggest thing that in my very first year as administrator at the high school, I've heard. Hey, we're gonna do IXL. Well, when have we had the time to learn how to do that? Hey, we've got Study Sync. We're gonna go with that. Well, when have we had the training to do that? Tazin came in and met with our math department 6 through 12 and did the data dive with them. And the teacher said, man, if we could just have the time to do this and learn to do this, that we would change the way we do things. And I think that is the biggest thing I get from our staff is we ask them to do a lot of things and they're doing a phenomenal job. But if you don't give them time to get really good at it, if you don't give them time to look at that and to work with each other to impact their student instruction, we're going to keep doing the same things we're doing. And right now, we need to grow that as a unit. So.
And with the structure, I think that the more I have to do that, especially with the collaboration time, because with every grade level, you're going to have the doers that get that information, just like when he was talking about IXL. And you have some that are like, I don't understand that, or we haven't had the time to do it. Well, in that collaboration time, they can teach those other staff members to do that. And with it being structured, much higher chance of that getting accomplished than just saying, hey, you need to get this done.
Yeah,
So.
or watch this webinar and this will answer all your questions. So I think that purposeful collaboration and carving that time out every week for our teachers you're gonna see a lift in what you're getting from them, and they're gonna feel more valued with their time because it is important that you give them that time to practice. So. Are there any questions for us?
Sounds like you did a lot of work and it looks good.
We're also requesting $10,000.
Well, we just give them.
No, just information on what we were looking at.
So how would that be implemented into your day at school? So like you guys are talking about kind of like the hours that this would happen, or is this adding an extra study time for the students so the teachers can have this, or what?
No, it's already in place. At the middle school, it's already there. The teachers have
okay.
2 plan times. They have a personal plan and then a team plan. So the personal planning time they can take to work on their individual classroom planning. But in the team plan is when they're supposed to get together and collaborate. It's there. It's just not structured right now.
Okay.
And so again, without that structure, it just doesn't always happen. So so that's why in a lot of our talks and even talks with TAS and KSDE, they even suggested, hey, this structure it. This is where a lot of that, well, even time that we can spend with them and time that they can spend amongst themselves collaborating, it's there, at least at the middle school right now. I know at the high school.
Right, so at the high school, it's gonna take a schedule change. We've talked with our staff about it. We've presented this with BLT, and it would take a schedule change for us to do this. It really is moving some minutes, making some things smaller, or adding that to an extra period. But it's worth the time. Whichever schedule they will choose, the professional development, the team plan, it makes a difference. It's worth the time, and I really feel like we can do this. It then makes our model the same all the way through, and it impacts that instruction. It impacts the student learning. But yes, it takes.
Rather than try and do all this stuff that we're talking about just on in-service and training days, we're doing this weekly now. And then when we do have our district in service, that gives us a chance to put our teams together and let them align and visit about things that they need to within those content areas. So again, yeah, it's there, it's in place. It would change virtually nothing for us at the middle school other than to formally structure it so we know it's happening.
So you can't be the coach for everyone, so are you gonna have like team leaders or something to do
You
that?
can, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you train them on what you want to have happen, then yeah, absolutely.
So this is gonna take a lot of work on our part, on our BLT part, and on our assistant principals. It's gonna be a lot of work to get us where we need to be. The choosing to carve out time 1 day a week, 2 days a week to do this it's just the most important thing that I can think of to change what we're doing and see that lift.
Do you have your schedule made? I mean, do you?
So I've worked with it, and our BLT has looked at 2 options. Yep, and we looked at 3, we reduced it to 2. And we presented it to the staff the last in-service and had some discussion about it. Change is a big thing for people, and so giving them a chance to vote on which one we want to go with. It also is going to change our lunch. It's going to make it a little bigger. There'll be 2 instead of 3, but that is, I mean, Audrey and I do lunch duty every day, and going from 2 big ones and a small one to 2 big ones, I think it's probably doable. We've looked for some extra tables and talked with food service about it. So there's been a lot of planning already.
So is the goal to implement this for next year?
Can we see the schedules or maybe?
My staff hasn't voted yet on our schedule,
I thought they had.
and so we're gonna meet as a BLT after we're done here with this, and then redevelop that. We're getting into scheduling season, obviously. I'd like to have our schedule finished and to our teachers by May, but the counselor side of my brain, that is, you just take the time and do it. So.
How will that schedule change affect your Cali students?
So we've worked with Cali, we've met with them already, and they're looking at changing their schedule to help us fit. So moving from the hour and a half, 2 days a week to a shorter period, 4 days a week, which would impact this. But this makes our class periods, if they go with one option, it makes our class periods a little longer. If they go with the other, it takes a minute from our class periods, so it doesn't. Getting Cali on board to have the shorter classes makes it more feasible.
How does this affect, I mean, I know we've all had discussions about dual credit, et cetera. So does this affect band or those kinds of classes?
So it just changes the time, either by 1 minute or adds a couple minutes to it, depending on what the staff chooses. Cool. Any other questions?
Interesting to see, yeah.
I think it's great news. I think the elementaries are aligning a little bit, right? And so everybody's getting on board, and I think we're gonna have a really good program. Thank you guys.
Don't talk to the elementary about having your new time period back to back. Start a war.
It's right. Did you hear that? Oh.
No, I didn't. I don't hear anything.
I said JJ had to be the K-State fan because you could remember the ball and he could finish.
What?
Wow, if the weekend wasn't bad enough. Have to relive it, right?
I wish it was the first.
So I know it's not on your agenda, so forgive me, Mr. Newberry. But Ms. Chase is here with us tonight, and I know you got an email. Ms. Chase is a fellow. Go ahead and tell us what everything else is.
So, I know that JJ has been holding back
Right,
this
I've known
news
about it for a really long time.
since about September-ish.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm gonna go to the board and I'm gonna put it on. And I was like, Google. And they were like, absolutely not. And they were like, you are basically, I was under an NDA clause until this was released. So this is with American Farm Bureau Foundation. And Google. So I was named one of 4 fellows across the nation. There was, they said about 200, 300 some applicants. One of the things that you have later in your, it was in your consent agenda, was to approve these laptops that were given as a grant, but then there was this big clause that was like, you can't say anything about it and who they're going to or what they're for. And so then they finally released everything after all of that came out. So we're kind of excited to be able to do this. So you'll see that consent agenda item later on. It has been put out in the American Farm Bureau Foundation announced all the fellows and put that out via email. And I know I sent an email to you guys because they are ready to also make this big press. So it's a big thing that Google is giving out and the American Farm Bureau Foundation also. So for Google, it's the $37,000 or $35,000 worth of laptops or Chromebooks, and then a stipend for myself. So this is the beginning. We've been working on these. My particular applied digital skill lesson plan has been released by Google already, and so it is out there. So if you get onto Google and you type in applied digital skills, you could go in there and there'll be a special one that's labeled agriculture and rural communities. And so you go in there and it is, mine is building a slideshow and talking to the kids about how to pick a community event. And so it's highlighting the Wellington Wheat Festival. And so it's pretty cool to be able to be part of it. Each one of us, the 4 of us, each got to choose a digital skill and a lesson that was related to our community, and kind of working those together so that it's kind of out there together. So it's really cool. Mine and another from Pennsylvania, our 2 were the first ones done and were the first ones that were published by Google. So super excited about them. I watched it today. I was like, let's you know, so it was kind of cool to be able to go online and see that the way it is.
Yeah. So it's a huge honor to have Linda receive this and to receive this stipend for computers in our district and at the high school. And we're very lucky to have her on staff and working to change the face of agriculture education in the state of Kansas and now national. So
Hopefully, whenever we do our press thing, most of you will be able to join us because that's the one thing that Kansas Farm Bureau would also appreciate. So keep sending me dates that do work or don't work. So.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is policy update.
Yes, we have 2 items to discuss with policy. The first one came to you last month. That was the December policy updates from KASB. The discussion around that as far as any changes for the most part was around the Wednesday, Sunday activity policy. And so we did some adjustments to the language on that and then put that back to you just as an idea. So if that is that language is something that fits your brains, then that works out great. And if we need to do some continuing adjusting on that, I do know that this discussion has freaked out all of our people because Ellie's like, oh my gosh, we've scheduled 50,000 things, through the end of the year. And so I have made it very clear that we will I've made it very clear that, whatever policy is decided here, we will try to implement next school year so we don't turn over the apple cart here at the end of the year, so. So any thoughts on wording there and, whether we need to continue to work on that or whether.
Could you read it? I couldn't
The whole-
find it. No, just that. No, just
You want me-
the.
you want me to read it?
Yeah, that'd be
I
great.
couldn't find it. The
Okay.
way you reworded it.
So it's section LED labeled family night. We have no school activity is to take place after 6 p.m. on Wednesday night or before noon on Sunday without permission of the superintendent. These times are set aside for family activities. If the superintendent permits any exceptions to this policy, notice shall be given to the board. That's all.
So one thing that's gonna be, an issue with that is that would be district activities. Obviously, we just had a state basketball game that was on a Wednesday that we would have no control over, so. Just an idea, based off of what we heard from you last month, that was the language that we had in our heads, so.
So there was an 11 o'clock softball practice yesterday though, right? Yes.
Yeah.
What are
So
some
we-
things you heard? I know it's been
Yeah.
awful, because there's a lot of Wednesday nights, but what are some comments and things that you've heard about it? You said you had a lot of, did you say?
No, I was just talking about your guys' comments from
Oh, I
last month.
thought, I'm just curious because it'll be hard to enforce.
Yeah, it'll be tough. A lot of the things we're doing now, it'll force it back to, another night and there'll be more conflicts and all that kind of stuff. But it still protects families like you guys talked about last month. So it's the lesser of two evils. It's however you wanna do it.
The two biggest things that I can just think of off the top of my head, like in spring, we have a sports banquet and class night. Those are both currently scheduled on a Wednesday. Because of the fact that there's no other events that happen on a Wednesday, sporting events wise. Spring is super, super busy with 5 sports going on. And so having to get those things done, right now they're scheduled on Wednesdays because everyone's available for the most part on Wednesday. So it would be things like those that are affected. Is the two I could think on the top of my head.
I don't think the policy is meant to necessarily exclude those things. It's just meant to, hey, this is the superintendent has
It's to protect the student
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
not being, held
Sunday
back.
mornings,
Yeah.
that's a big deal, Sundays. Sunday before noon, it was my big deal.
the Sunday before noon is.
So how's everybody feel about the Wednesday sex stuff? I understand Sunday before noon is gonna be popular. Wednesday after 6 o'clock. How's everybody feel about that? It gets practices in and then nothing after that unless something's scheduled outside the district's control, obviously. And then if we have to do a class night or something like that, then I can approve that and then let you guys know.
Yeah, I think that's the way the policy.
Right.
Perfect.
I guess we can try it and we can always change it if it's causing issues.
Before we approve or anything, the only thing I have a problem with, and I don't know if we wanna have another policy meeting, is the public records. That CN one.
Okay.
That is the only one, I just wanna talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
Just,
This is all discussion anyway, correct?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're not gonna.
Really vote on it.
We don't
Make some
no, we do
motion.
I
not
just
have
want
to.
someone to make a motion.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make it.
Talk on public records more. You got that down, Russ?
Yeah, so are you okay bringing that back, like next board meeting, and we can talk about it more?
Yeah, we can talk about,
Sure.
yeah.
Everybody make a note to look over that one.
Got it.
Contact the policy committee, right? If you have any questions.
Deanna and Andrea and then myself and Russ.
Good deal.
Second part of updates, as you know, the policy committee is also working on new policy project, trying to funnel everything over to a policy, service, thank you. A policy service that will take our policies and then host them on our website. And then they will also, anytime we have any adjustments or changes like we're talking about right now, that would go to the service and the service would make those updates, which I had talked to you about before. And the policy committee had agreed to that, and so we have that all in place. Now, what KSB has done since we signed up for that is they gave us a questionnaire. The questionnaire, one of the things that's been talked about for a long time, which we're trying to fix, is all the policies throughout the book that have the different options, superintendent or principal does this, and then for some reason it's not circled, or has not, or whatever the options are throughout that. We have had issues with that over time, and so this questionnaire specifically is to target those areas of the book that we put in there, and so that is up for discussion as well tonight. That has been through the policy committee. We went through that, and then we met again and made some adjustments, and so now we are have it at the board level to discuss. I know it's kind of lengthy, so.
Okay, like, I'm just gonna throw this out there for example.
Sure.
Does the district have a specific program funded in whole or part by federal grant monies regarding a drug-free workplace? Okay, we mark no. So, does that mean they're gonna what are they gonna do with that? And there's lots of, I just mean the ones that we have no, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna take one that they have out? Are they gonna, you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think they would just adjust that within our book and specifically target that. Specifically say that is my guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the way
we
I
can
think.
we can definitely ask Leslie that, the lady we're working with. But.
So what will they do with GAOA? There's several.
I think what they're doing, Pat, is I think they put it in our book and they mark it no. I think that's what.
But it's not. I'm not trying to
No,
call it
no,
different.
we marked it no.
But it's
In
not
the
marked.
red.
Yeah, we mark no
Yes,
because we don't. But what will happen to the way that GAOA looks in the policy book?
Oh, I think it'll be marked, like, when you go online to look at this, it'll be marked, probably not red, but it'll be marked black, no, is what I'm guessing.
That's my gut too, but
so
we can
we're gonna
absolutely
have-
ask that question.
All of these are gonna be in there, we just have to choose, are we yes or no, or kind of like some of the, like he said, the may or may not, or will or will not, there's a lot of those that aren't circled
Right.
currently, so I think this is just getting them marked and then publish them.
So they're asking on some of these if we do or don't, or if we whatever. What if we and we mark no? What if it's something that we feel like, hey, we need that, or
Then we change it in policy and send it back to them, and then they will change it on there, and it'll be different on our website. So they will host our policies. Anytime the board makes changes, we send that to them, they make all the revisions for us and host that on our website.
so are they going through our policy book from page 1, each single item?
That's what all these questions were for.
Yeah. So those are the only things so far that they have questions about.
So no, I think what I'm understanding is the policy committee has put the red X's by these, correct? Like
Yeah, you marked it yes
Indiana.
or no.
Yeah, so we
And
went
then-
through this questionnaire. And
This one
these
right
are,
here.
these are the ones, these are the questions that KSAB found were blank or
Okay,
not.
right,
So these are just the ones that needed an answer
okay.
or
What about-
needed an update, right?
And that definitely was needed, so that's good.
Yep.
What about the policies that we are in there that we don't follow, or that are vague, that can be taken, over the years they've been taken this way, but they could be that way, that need to be changed so that it fits what we do.
Well, those aren't, they're gonna be the way they are in the book right now, and if we have one that we're not doing, like this Sunday thing,
Right.
then we needed to talk about it.
Because
That's
originally.
gonna be our responsibility to follow the
Yeah,
policies
the
that are there.
responsibility still lies with the board.
Yeah.
All they are
Right,
doing is
but I
hosting
mean,
it.
At the end of this project, the board's gonna have to agree to the final product of the policy to host online, so.
well, originally we were going to go through every single policy and look at each one.
This is a good start. This is what they said,
This is
saying,
it, yeah.
hey, we need answers for these.
Right, to yes
So
and
let's
no's.
get the answers done first, and then, like, we've had one meeting, and so, since I've been on the policy committee, so then let's get this done, and then we can go through and actually.
So just what do you anticipate them doing next, or asking us, or?
then they're gonna take these answers and put it together and publish our policies online so that all of our policies have an answer.
Okay, the
And then
ones
if
that-
there's policies out there that we're not following, then
They won't know that though.
they won't know that. I mean, that's on us to not follow the
Yeah.
policy.
But they'll also review it for legalities to make sure we're current with legislation, with all the
And
things.
they've supposedly they've done that all along, but.
But having a service, that's the key to having a service, is they.
So personally, if I have questions, I mean, I've gone through every one and I should let you know which ones I think you need to talk about.
And that's why we have a committee.
Because I
to
know
discuss that and
everybody,
bring
I
it
mean,
forward.
I'm just a freak, I've read the book several times, I mean,
Yes.
you know, but, so I know there are things that we're not doing that well, I just do, I usually, people call me about the teachers negotiated agreement. I could tell you looking backwards what it said, that's just, I'm weird like that. So, yeah, I'll just go through that and the ones that we need to maybe talk about as a group, or just you guys or whatever.
Yep, that'd
Because
be
it is
great.
hard to look at every single policy,
Right.
but, they need to be looked at if we're not following and we need to change them for us.
Agreed.
Okay, you don't need any action on that, right?
No,
This
and
discussion
not with
purposes.
December coming
Right.
back for more revisions, no, I don't have
Right.
anything. So, did anybody have any questions on the questionnaire before, besides that?
There's one I thought didn't have an answer.
It's a good step in the right direction. Appreciate the work.
I'll just let you know.
We'll send that off to KSB and they can send us the next step. And appreciate Dan and Andre for working on that with us.
Okay,
So,
the next thing we have is strategic plan and district goals process.
Yes, okay, so it is March, we're on the other side of spring break, and so planning for next year will start happening, and so each year we go through and I kind of bring this up every year as a topic. Each year we go through a process of updating strategic plan and district goals for the following year, and so just wanted to get an idea on how the board wants that to look this year. Traditionally, the district has kind of got together, put our heads together, and come up with our vision of it, and then brought it to you and had a planning session where we discussed all of that, and you guys kind of give us the yay, nay, and any options that or any ideas that you have. And then, but there are other options to that process. Instead of the district getting together first, we can all get together. It's a little more time consuming for the board, but we can start from scratch as a whole group. But also KSB, I know, does a service where they will come in and as a third party and kind of go through a strategic planning goal process with us if we choose to have them here. So there's just different options. I just wanted to make sure that we were following the option that the board feels best about for this next year. That's open for discussion.
I'll just do my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Okay, you just said that the board, that the district gets together and makes the recommendations or whatever, and then brings them to the board. Well, it hasn't in the past been the district that's helped with the goals.
Okay.
Is that correct?
It's been the district team.
It's been the district team, which I don't mean any offense to anyone, but the district team, which I've asked before, is you, I don't mean this bad, but like a bookkeeper, a secretary, and a communication person, and Jen, and we changed them, they used to be called board goals, but we changed the name of that because they really weren't our goals, the boards as a whole goals, so we called them district goals. And I missed the very last meeting last year, and so I did ask a lot when I was here to approve them, and I said that I thought our district goals were fluff. And I haven't changed my mind on that. I think if someone other than the boards, I think the team should be administrators, I think it should be educators, I think it should be, even a community person who has, I just think the team needs to be made up of different entities in our educational world.
Okay.
And I don't mean, anything I just said, I don't mean to offend anybody at all.
I'm not.
That is who.
We want to do it the way you guys want to do it. That's why this
And
whole topic's being brought up.
One of the things is that you said, which is true, in the past, the district team has gone on a retreat and discussed our vision. We all know going on a retreat's not a good idea. And I've asked if the board could have their own retreat going on 7 years now.
Okay, well, that's why this topic gets brought
But I
up.
mean, it's been
every-
7 yeyears. So, and you mentioned it too, which is great, when you talked to us one evening, you know, about, it would just be a time, because 100 years ago when I was on the board, we just went away from our space, you know, your educational space, your meeting space. And we went to Raymond Fry, it was just a different vision, different walls. And we got to, know each other better, we got to share our intentions for being on the board and our concerns and that type of thing. And we've yet to do that, but every year, the team, the board, the district, the central office team I don't care if I go on a retreat, got to go away for a weekend somewhere and plan our goals. So I think I've kept everything I want to say in there.
Okay, so that's why this topic's
Okay,
being
right,
brought
it
up.
was for
So,
discussion,
yeah.
and that's my discussion. I think we should have some educators in on the goals, and
Sure.
I agree with what Pat said,
Okay.
and to add on to that, I would like to see the district bring us what they want. And then I'd like the board to have our own planning session, retreat, whatever word you wanna use.
Okay.
Where we come up with our stuff and then we bring them together.
Sure.
And then it's everyone's goals, because we're all here for the same reason. And let's be a team and not just be your goals or our goals, it's everyone's goals.
Agree.
I know you guys are probably facing it, like our first year on the board, the way it's set up is the district, they're not your board goals. You didn't have any input in making them, but you inherit them from the last, and that was tough for, I know me when I got on the board, that, hey, I didn't want any of this stuff or, have any input, but yeah, they're our goals, but that's because of the way the elections fall and when our board goals are released.
And overall, we sitting right here we're accountable for our kids. We're accountable for hiring the best people that we can, where we hire, we are responsible. We're responsible for our kids, for our district. We want to hire the best people. We want to keep our best people. We want to make sure, like, you two guys did an amazing job. I don't know how many times I personally said, that's great, we learned how to do this, all day Friday, but who's gonna do it? Who's gonna show me how to do it? That is so true. And what you guys have worked on together it's amazing, and it's been needed for a long time. So we obviously did a good job in our heart there. It's just one of those crazy things that's important to me. I'm kind of passionate about it, so.
We are fine with whatever process you want to follow. So.
So it sounds
It
like we need a
comes
planning
down to-
session or retreat or something.
Sounds like it.
Is anybody
I'm okay
interested?
with it.
I guess we could eliminate this or keep it. Is anybody interested in bringing KSB to help guide? No, okay. So now it comes down to, Deanna had an idea of two parties separately and then coming together, or we can all start the process from the get-go together. What's everybody's thoughts?
I'm gonna talk again. I think, and I mentioned this, this time last year, I think it'd be really good to hear from kids, from current seniors. We're responsible for what they're doing 2 years down the road. It'd be nice to hear from, and I don't know how easy that would be, it'd be really great to get some of their input. They're 17, 18 years old, they vote on, I just think the world's changed, I just think it'd be really good to get.
Well, I'd like to think our district's getting that information.
Well, it's the world we live in every day, so,
Yeah.
but yes, but no, I know
No,
what
I don't
Pat,
mean the
I know what Pat's
information.
saying too.
I want their input. What do they feel we were failing them in high school? Where do they think we could do better? What,
But do
those
they
kinds
know
of
that graduating high school? Maybe 2 years into college, they may look back and say, okay, yeah, we got failed here. I don't know graduating high school if you'd actually know that.
Oh, I know kids right now, I can tell you kids right now will tell you how they think, how we failed them or what we've done better,
I don't wanna underestimate 18-year-olds.
I
like
think
the
it's time
idea
for a
of-
big change, just like that's a big change, these goals have to change, our
I like the idea of the district team getting together, coming up with some goals, the board getting together, coming up with some goals, and seeing how those two mesh together.
Okay. Other
Which I
thoughts?
believe was
Yeah,
my
that was
colleague's
Deanna's,
suggestion,
that
not
was
mine.
Deanna's idea.
You know, one time, this is when I was still teaching, but we had like 2 board members and a couple faculty, and there were students, and we met like as a group in the library of each school, and we just sat around and talked, you know, just kind of like what I'm saying, just shared. And then we went to another school, and you know, and it's even the board ourselves are, and you mentioned it, which was so right that night, you know, we're split, we're isolated, we're at each other, which isn't healthy, and I'm a big part of that. I just think it's time for big changes in our policies and how we make decisions. I must shut up.
Fine. That's why this discussion was here.
To
So
get kids' input, that would be one way.
we need to all look over our calendars, come up with a day that's gonna work
I would say
to
something.
do a planning session or whatever we wanna call it, get together and start discussion.
How long are you looking at for the planning session? Is it gonna be a whole day?
No, please no, not whole day.
That's the problem. The more-
What's the time frame that
I
you're
mean, it's gonna
looking
be a
at?
good evening.
We could take a whole day. I mean, give those guys a weekend, far away.
That's all nice and
Yeah.
some of them have full-time jobs.
Some of them
Oh, I know that, I know, maybe we'll do it on Saturday, maybe we'll, I'm just,
Some of us have kids in sports.
Yeah.
Some of us are coaching kids in sports.
okay, let's do 2 hours a night.
One thing we could do is have an initial planning session, just to get some ideas on the table on how we want the process to look, because there's a lot of ideas here as far as, you know, students, parents, all that kind of stuff, and talking, and if we need to, if that needs to be a part of the process, or we need to wanna change some of that, then those are all great ideas. But we need to be on the same page even entering the process in the first place. So I would say we need just an initial planning session to discuss what we want to be a part of the process, and then we can design it.
Okay, how long did it take you guys when you went on a retreat to come up with the goals? How many hours did you work on it?
Usually probably about 8 hours on Saturday is typically what happens. I would say. What do you guys think? Something like that.
So to answer your question, Chris, I would say we need to at least carve out 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, that's fine, I just didn't.
To get, as a
Look
starting
at the
point,
days,
as
kinda
a starting point, and then we can kinda go from there.
Yeah.
And make sure it's not on the basketball finals, the football
Yeah.
finals, the.
No, I'm gonna
Or Wednesday after 6.
Right.
Bob, you won't have to
The
worry
Super
about
Bowl.
the basketball finals.
It'll be Sunday after 12.
Not the last week of April.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
my
everybody
Wildcats
look
are
over
still
there.
in it, you know?
Probably use that as.
Believe me, I'm gonna call you.
Right.
Your team goes in.
I will send out possibilities for a planning session. Yeah. Let's just do that. And we'll start that discussion from scratch because we need more time than we have tonight.
Okay. Everybody good with that? As a starting point? Okay, moving on to our first action item. We got the 2021-2022 audit.
Yeah, Harold was here last month and gave you his audit report, and so you've had that for a month now, and so just looking for approval of that so we can get that finished for the year.
Any questions on the audit? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit, the 2021-2022. As presented.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay. Next item is the 2023-2024 calendar.
Yes, last month, the board discussed the calendar committee's work, and There was only one recommendation to move November 1st to a different day, because it was in the middle of the week and an in-service day there. And so the committee has chosen to move that to Friday, November 3rd. And so that calendar was put in your packet and is up for action this evening,
I thought it was because the in-service day was on Halloween.
the day after. That was the
Okay.
reasoning.
Yeah. So, I still think that was crazy to ask her to do that. So now you're gonna waste Halloween, you're gonna waste the day after Halloween, and you're gonna waste Friday. Because the day after Halloween, when they've been sugar high and up all night, which is why they wanted the in-service in the first place, you're wasting 3 days, in my opinion, instead of,
I believe the same
Two.
argument was made though with
It
having a
was.
day off in the middle of the week, so.
well, you're still gonna have a day off in the middle of the week because you're gonna have November 1st, the day after. If you took a survey right now, like we did, parents, you're gonna get the day after Halloween as a choice. So I think it was way crazy to move in the first place, so. I mean,
Any other
that's
discussion on it?
educators here.
Mrs. Schindler said, we
I
asked
know,
her, she
I know.
was sitting here, we asked her.
I know. She's out there
Hi.
now, come on.
Hi, oh, you're hiding back there.
She's like, where's the principal gonna say? We do, you know, we always do that. We can have some time, but- Okay.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, I would entertain a motion if somebody wants to make one.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 calendar as presented.
Got a motion?
I'll second it.
Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, administrative reports. All right.
Does that have anything? Chris is looking down, trying to pretend that she.
On your phone.
I don't make eye contact.
Jody and
Don't
Ann are
call
hiding in the hallway.
You should come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'd like to thank Joel and Holly for doing their Narcan training, making sure everybody up at Kennedy's got Narcan training, so. It was good to see that Joel took the initiative to make sure that his staff was trained and ready to go just in case.
Okay, moving on. So we got,
She's not here, but I think the Lincoln principal, she's
Second.
probably out in the
Second.
I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. No offense to change it either. I'm really excited that you've had 3 site council meetings.
Thank you.
I mean, that was on my list to ask, where are our site councils? Are they meeting you guys? Are they real? Are they just something we say we have? I'm not judging,
We meet once in 9 weeks.
but I was so excited to see that you had 3 site council meetings. Because they can be really valuable. Anybody guys have any?
Just to tell you the truth, ours is not developed at the moment.
Yeah.
So with all the things
Sure.
going on this first year, I haven't had a chance to get that put together.
I got that.
With regards to the Narcan training, I think all of schools are trained.
Yeah, our makeup.
I just don't know that we all put it in
I
the
just
board
seen it
report.
in Joel's admin reported. I didn't
Yeah,
see it in
yeah.
anybody others report, so
Everybody's trained up, right, rule.
if I don't see it, I can't say anything.
True.
That's why we're here, but.
okay,
Do you guys have your site council, did your site councils meet every year?
We usually meet twice a year, first semester and second semester.
I've always said, we need, it'd be
Same
nice to
for
bring a
Washington.
site council, a KASB site council training here. But that'd be nice, cause then you would know what, cause I went to one quite a long time ago, obviously. And, wow, they can be so beneficial and get the community involved, cause they're not supposed to be administrator led, they're not supposed to be teacher led. I mean, it's the makeup of the site council, which is like a community person or two, a business person, an elderly person, you know, just a real genuine, diverse, which is not a good word to use anymore, makeup of the community, so. And when we use them, when we wanna passed a bond issue or something years ago, but then, could we maybe entertain having, that's something we can talk about, I guess, at our work session, having a site council.
Yeah, we had them meet quite a bit during restructuring talks, when those topics were going on, but yeah, there hasn't been as much this year.
And I think it's mandated, they meet so many times,
Yeah,
because
I
the
think-
state mandated that we have site councils.
Okay, next item on the agenda, executive session.
I would make a motion that we go to executive session for 10 minutes to include Adam Hatfield and his team. Meeting to resume at,
You gotta tell what for.
for non-elected personnel. Meeting to resume at 8:00.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay.
5 kids, something.
Okay, we are back in open session. No action was taken, and moving on to the consent agenda.
Okay, approve the minutes of the February 13th and February 27th meetings. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll, $1,110,369.70. Bills, $525,324.55. Transfers, at risk, $200,000. Personnel, approve new hires. Lori Albert, para, Eisenhower. Kelly Weekly, functional sped para, Lincoln. Eric Page, math relays coach, middle school. Kristen White, assistant track coach, middle school. Dakota Rod, assistant baseball coach, high school. Ellie Johnson, assistant baseball coach, high school. Delaney Sight, first grade teacher, Eisenhower. Brandon Wilmuth, assistant track coach at the middle school. Erica Walker, secretary at Lincoln. Suzanne Gregory, para at Lincoln. And Tyra Kaylee Lemire, director of special programs, central office. Approve resignations. Kayla Brownlee, para, Lincoln. Anna Taylor, para, Lincoln. Taylor Becker, first grade teacher, Eisenhower. Denton Kindy, assistant track coach, high school. Rebecca Benvin, para, Kennedy. Caden Lawrence, maintenance and grounds. Alan Hiskin, band instructor, middle school and high school. Daniel Farley, director of special programs, central office. Heather Murphy, second grade teacher, Eisenhower. Approve transfers and or position changes. Chanel Angel, 8th grade English to ESL facilitator. Desiree Schwartz, long-term sub to certified business teacher at the middle school. Paula Edwards, 3rd grade teacher to Title I reading teacher at Kennedy. And approve the grant for a classroom set of Chromebooks worth $35,748 for the district.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
As read?
Yes, as read.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay. Board member comments. Chris, take us off.
Okay, just wanna say congrats to the girls and boys basketball teams. And with that, there was a lot of talk about the multiplier. And I was just wondering, Adam, if you have talked to our legislators on how they feel about it. If not, can we invite them to either one of our board meetings, or can we see a correspondence to see exactly their position on it?
Sure, yeah, we can invite them in.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
know,
the
when
big-
you're up in Topeka, if you get
Yeah,
with them
the
to
big
talk about it.
No, we didn't
But-
talk about that this year. The big talk this year was special education funding at the time that was pushed, so that was what I talked to him, so I had not talked to him about that specifically.
But
we can invite them in, sure.
Yeah, I just know that it's getting more and more rumbled, and I'd like to know where.
Yep.
You know, give them an opportunity to discuss it with the board or something.
Sounds good. We can do that.
I'm gonna ditto him on the basketball and excited to see the spring sports starting up, so hopefully have a good season on that.
I'll echo the congratulations to the basketball team and hope everybody had a good spring break and it's time to wrap her up and finish out a good year.
On basketball, I saw it, but I can't find it now. Did Mr. Adams win Coach of the Year, or he
Yes.
won? Okay, congratulations to that. Yeah, that's exciting.
Where we are.
Again, congratulations to the basketball, and I did see an update about the esports. I guess everybody's left. There was like the senior is the high school is number 3rd in the league
they're
or something.
doing
but
really
they're
good.
doing really good. So, and the Overwatch is
cool.
And that's another thing, the casino helped.
Yeah,
Bring
big
that
time.
stuff.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, just congratulations to the basketball team, and I'm excited for spring sports. I'm sad to see his skin to go.
We all are.
Um,
He's going to his hometown, so not surprising, but at the same time, it's sad.
the honor that, that, that's really a huge honor to have 4 people, so not only is she, we're lucky to have her, so we make sure we can keep her in, so do we have any kind of report from the food service? I mean, how's that? I know it's been spring break and they were eating there, but was anyone checking and?
Yeah, Kelly's been over, and that about 2 days after, I think it was 2 days after we had the board meeting, they cleared it to open up and everything, and so now I just have to stay on top of it. So,
I mean, yes,
and they're also, Kelly also has Jana King, which is a cleaning company, coming in to do a service, and they're gonna do a deep kitchen cleaning, and then also cafeteria cleaning down there as well.
The person, we don't hire and fire, right? We said they're all, what you call the food services?
Yes, Charles.
Okay. But, and I think I've asked before, we could have like a, just, don't you meet with students and or not kids maybe, but just a superintendent's advisory with.
The council?
Yeah, did we ever get like
Yes,
notes
you
or
did,
minutes
I'm
or-
sorry, you did ask me for that.
I've asked about that.
Yeah, you
So, that
Yes,
would
you have that down.
Yeah.
be a good way to, I'm leaving something off right now, so I guess that's it.
One more thing, the boys that are swimming for Winfield, or that represent
Yeah.
us, I forgot them.
Yes, in the survey, somebody wanted a pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, we do,
wanted a pool.
we do need a pool. I agree.
Okay, so that's it. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.